If one were to name a person who modern Vietnamese history always recalls with utmost respect, gratitude, and pride, it would undoubtedly be Võ Nguyên Giáp, the legendary general, an outstanding military strategist, an exemplary and close disciple of President Ho Chi Minh, and the first commander-in-chief of the Vietnam People's Army. He was not only a general who led the victory that was resounding across the five continents, shaking the globe at Dien Bien Phu, but also a great intellect, a shining moral figure, and an immortal symbol of patriotism, resilience, and the Vietnamese people's yearning for peace. Born in a poor but revolutionary-rich village of Le Thuy, Quang Binh, where the scorching Lao wind and white sand forged tough, courageous individuals, young Võ Nguyên Giáp grew up amid the turmoil of a colonized nation, with the dream of liberation burning in his heart from an early age. Without formal military schooling or a military background, he taught himself, explored independently, and threw himself into battle with both intellect and heart, dedicating his life entirely to the revolutionary cause. Therefore, he was not only a military commander, but also a teacher, journalist, historian, and military theorist, a man who made history through his unique path of wisdom and connection with the people. For more than half a century, as the mastermind behind the most critical campaigns in the resistance wars against the French and the Americans, General Võ Nguyên Giáp not only brought resounding victories to the nation, but also inspired liberation movements across the world. His name is forever linked with historic victories. The border campaign of autumn-winter 1950, the 1954 Dien Bien Phu victory, the 1968 Tet Offensive, and the 1975 Ho Chi Minh campaign. With exceptional military leadership, he led a once impoverished guerrilla force to become one of the most respected armies in the world, defeating two of the most powerful imperialist forces of the time, French colonialists and American imperialists. However, what truly made Võ Nguyên Giáp great was not only his military achievements, but also his moral character and unwavering spirit of service to the people and the nation. He was a general of the people, living a life of integrity and simplicity, always upholding the truth and fearlessly defending justice. He sought neither fame nor personal gain, always concerned for the fate of the nation, for justice, for compassion. A man whose passing moved millions of Vietnamese people to tears, as if losing a beloved family member. Living a life that spanned over a century, General Võ Nguyên Giáp left behind not only glorious victories, but also a priceless spiritual legacy, a shining example of patriotism, steadfastness, intelligence, and humanity. He is not just a figure of history, but a monument that lives on in the hearts of generations of Vietnamese and friends around the world. A turbulent childhood, the foundation of a military genius. Nguyen Giap was born on August 25, 1911, in An Sa village, Loc Thi Commune, Le Thuy District, Quang Binh Province, a dry, stormy land in central Vietnam that has given rise to many national heroes. In the lullabies of his mother and the early Confucian teachings of his father, Vo Quang Nghiêm, a patriotic scholar who once joined the Duy Tan reform movement, young Giap was raised in a family steeped in academic spirit and a profound sense of national idealism. His childhood was far from peaceful, like that of most other children. At the age of 14, Giap witnessed his own sister being arrested and brutally tortured for her revolutionary activities. The pain of loss and the burning resentment toward the colonial regime silently engraved themselves deep in his soul, like an ember smoldering, waiting for its day to ignite. From then on, his national consciousness, hatred of the invaders, and desire for independence took root early in his heart. An academic journey that rose above destiny. Võ Nguyên Giáp was not only known for his intelligence, but also for his perseverance and unceasing passion for learning. In 1925, he was admitted to Quoc Ha Quay High School, a prestigious institution that had produced many great revolutionaries, such as Ho Chi Minh, Pham Van Dong, and To Hu. It was here that he was first exposed to revolutionary ideas, reading Marxist-Leninist materials and classical works on politics and economics. During this time, he also joined Hoi Phuc Viet, a patriotic student organization. In 1930, while still a student, he was arrested by the French colonial authorities for his political activities. Despite torture and exile, the young man's spirit remained unbroken. After being released, He continued his studies and was admitted to the Indochina University of Law, one of the most prestigious institutions of the time. There, he deepened his knowledge, not only in law, but also in history, geography, philosophy, and especially military strategy, which would later form the intellectual foundation of his genius as a military commander. The teacher, the educator, and the flame of revolutionary ideals. Beyond his academic pursuits, Võ Nguyên Giáp became a renowned history teacher at Thăng Long School in Hanoi. With his vast knowledge and independent thinking, his lessons were always infused with current affairs and deeply inspired patriotic fervor among the youth. He was, in essence, a revolutionary seed sower through knowledge, a role model of a patriotic intellectual willing to sacrifice personal ambition for the good of the nation. Alongside teaching, he also wrote articles under pen names such as Van Dien and Qing Dao, contributing to revolutionary newspapers like Le Travail, Labor, the voice of the Indochinese Democratic Front movement. With his sharp pen, he exposed colonial crimes and called upon the masses to rise up for their rights and human dignity. A historic encounter, a life-changing turning point. In 1939, Võ Nguyên Giáp traveled to China, where he had the fateful opportunity to meet President Ho Chi Minh in Kunming. That historic meeting marked a major turning point in his life. From a teacher and journalist, he became a close comrade and companion to Ho Chi Minh throughout the revolutionary journey. Under Ho's guidance, he began to delve deeper into the theory of armed revolution and the path to national liberation through the power of the people. During those years in exile, Võ Nguyên Giáp not only strengthened his political resolve, but also learned the skills of organizing, building forces, guerrilla warfare, and thorough revolutionary commitment. From a gentle intellectual, he gradually transformed into a steadfast revolutionary, ready to tie his personal fate to the destiny of the nation. Entering the battlefield, the people's general. On December 22, 1944, deep in the jungles of Pak Bo, Cao Bang Province, under the direct guidance of President Ho Chi Minh, Võ Nguyên Giáp commanded the establishment of the Vietnam Propaganda Liberation Army Team, the forerunner of the Vietnam People's Army. With only 34 soldiers, 34 rifles, and an unshakable belief in the future independence of the homeland, he led this small force through its first battles, Phi Cut and Nang Gun, marking the beginning of a legendary military campaign that would span 3 decades. Promotion to general, a historic milestone. On September 2, 1945, the Democratic Republic of Vietnam was officially founded. A new era began, but it also brought tremendous challenges, protecting a fragile independence from foreign invasion. In this context, on January 20, 1948, Võ Nguyên Giáp was appointed general by decree of President Ho Chi Minh at the age of just 37, without having attended any formal military academy. This was not only recognition of his command capabilities and strategic vision, but also a living testament to a truth. In Vietnam, patriotism, intelligence, and virtue could produce an outstanding general without the need for formal military schooling. From that moment, Vietnamese history recorded a special general, the only one in modern times to be granted the rank before having any subordinate ranks beneath him. The campaigns that made a legendary name. Border Campaign. Autumn-Winter, 1950. This was the first time Võ Nguyên Giáp commanded a large-scale campaign. The objective: to open the Vietnam-China border corridor and break the French colonial encirclement. This victory not only marked a turning point in the resistance war, but also solidified the people's trust in the strategic brilliance of the young commander-in-chief. Dien Bien Phu, victory of 1954, echoing across the globe. Dien Bien Phu was the shining peak of General Võ Nguyên Giap's military career. During this campaign, he made a historic decision, abandoning the strategy of fast attack and quick victory in favor of steady attack, sure victory, even though it required significantly more time and effort. Using trench digging, siege warfare, and the tactic of moving artillery in and out of position, he turned the Dien Bien Valley into the graveyard of France's strongest fortified base in Indochina. The victory at Dien Bien Phu shook the world, forcing France to sign the Geneva Accords, ending nearly a century of colonial rule and opening a new chapter for the Vietnamese nation. This triumph elevated Võ Nguyên Giáp to the ranks of the world's greatest military geniuses, with international press hailing him as the Napoleon of the East. Resistance against America. We are determined to win. As the United States escalated its war efforts, Võ Nguyên Giáp once again demonstrated his brilliance as a military commander. Though he did not directly lead every campaign as he had during the war against the French, he remained the key architect of military, political, and ideological strategy, contributing decisively to several critical turning points. Tet Offensive 1968, a powerful blow to the morale of American forces and the Saigon regime. Tri Thien Campaign 1972, gaining strategic advantage in central Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh Campaign 1975. Although he did not issue the final orders, his strategic thinking and force preparation in the preceding years bore his unmistakable imprint. A general with no personal enemies, only love for the nation. Throughout his military career, Võ Nguyên Giáp never allowed power to cloud his judgment nor sacrificed ethics for ambition. He consistently upheld the principle of an army of the people, by the people, and for the people, and was absolutely loyal to President Ho Chi Minh and revolutionary ideals. He once said, "Military affairs must be tied to politics. A general must possess both heart and vision. Victory is not for personal glory, but for national peace and the happiness of the people." Even as a general, head of the military, he maintained a simple and humble lifestyle, without flashy escorts or distance from his troops. He spent time visiting the wounded, caring for soldiers' well-being, and retained the demeanor of a scholar, dignified yet deeply modest. From a schoolboy passionate about history, to a patriotic teacher, and finally a general of the nation, General Võ Nguyên Giáp entered the battlefield not driven by ambition, but by the sacred ideal of patriotism, a love so great he was willing to devote his entire life for the word independence. He was not merely a commander, but the soul of victories, a living testament that though small, the Vietnamese nation has never bowed to oppression. Top post-war legacy, a life that lives on with the nation. After the spring victory of 1975, Vietnam turned a new page, reunification and reconstruction. Peace returned, gunfire faded, but the responsibility of revolutionaries remained. General Võ Nguyên Giáp, who had dedicated half a century to the army, did not choose to rest. He continued to serve as Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of National Defense, Politburo member, and played a crucial role in shaping Vietnam's all-people national defense strategy in peacetime. Though no longer commanding troops on the battlefield, he remained a spiritual pillar, a guardian of the revolution's founding ideals, and a model of integrity, courage, and political morality during a time of national transformation. A voice of wisdom and morality amid the times. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, as Vietnam faced economic crises, shifted development models, and revealed growing internal challenges, General Võ Nguyên Giáp did not stay silent. He wrote letters of feedback, proposed policies, warned of mistakes, and especially stood firm in protecting the environment, safeguarding national sovereignty over islands and seas, and promoting sustainable development. Many times, he spoke out frankly, knowing he might be misunderstood. Yet he chose to speak up, for, as he once said, "A revolutionary must be loyal to the truth. If you don't defend what's right, you are not worthy of the people." A simple man beneath the glory. Unlike many war heroes after peace was restored, Võ Nguyên Giáp built no mansions, formed no factions, and amassed no personal wealth. He lived modestly in a small house at 30 Hoang Dio Street, Hanoi, a place where ordinary citizens could send letters, pay visits, and bow in gratitude. It held tens of thousands of handwritten letters, poems, and notes of thanks from people across the country. His working room displayed no medals, no signs of authority, only books, wartime photos, and his eyes gazing thoughtfully toward the future of the nation. He believed, the greatest victory is not on the battlefield, but in keeping the people's trust after the war. Winning battles but losing the people's hearts is the greatest failure. A life without selfish pursuits, only for the nation. Throughout more than 80 years of revolutionary service, General Võ Nguyên Giáp was never caught in personal scandal, never acted for selfish gain. Even in retirement, he tirelessly wrote books, welcomed young intellectuals, encouraged scientific research, promoted education, and advocated for a healthy, honest way of life. He was frank yet compassionate, determined yet forgiving. He lived through nearly a century of storms without ever losing faith in the people, and never letting the people lose faith in him. Passing of a legend. On October 4th, 2013, the nation paused in a moment of heartbreaking silence. General Võ Nguyên Giáp passed away at 108 Military Hospital, aged 103. The entire country was overwhelmed with grief. People from all regions, from elderly citizens in tears to children who had never known war, bowed in farewell to an immortal symbol. The state funeral was solemn and deeply moving, with tens of thousands lining up to bid farewell as he was laid to rest at Vung Chua, Dien, a land overlooking the East Sea, where he once fiercely protected every inch of island, every wave of sovereignty. A legacy beyond victory. What he left behind was not only legendary battles, but also a military philosophy that was independent, creative, and rooted in the people. A life of integrity, a model for those in power. A spirit of critical thinking and defense of justice at every turning point. Above all, a belief in the strength of the Vietnamese people, that even a small nation can overcome the mightiest enemies through unity, moral clarity, and righteousness. Võ Nguyên Giáp was not just a general. He was a symbol, the conscience of a wartime generation, the moral beacon of peacetime, a monument eternally alive in the hearts of the people. His name will not only be recorded in history books, but also heard in a mother's lullaby, a father's tale, and in the soul of every Vietnamese generation, a reminder that there are people born not just to live for themselves, but to bring glory to an entire nation.